again. This is Arise and Shine with Coach Bev, and I'm so pleased to have Cheryl Nelson here with me. And I'm going to read Cheryl's bio so you know a little bit about her. Cheryl is the wife of Anthony Nelson, and they've been married for 34 faith-filled, adventurous years and have 3 adult homeschool children who, with their spouses, have all served in the work of the ministry. Cheryl and her husband co-founded Faith 5 Fellowship of Ministries based in Whitby, Ontario, Canada, to strengthen, equip, train, and release leaders. Presently, they shepherd the local fellowship of FFFM, which is Faith 5 Restoration Center, and provide oversight to the ministry's emerging leaders of children and youth. They offer premarital counseling services and relationship seminars in the community, and co-host Faith Bite with Faith 5 on PRAYz FM. At heart, Cheryl Nelson is a mother in Zion and a true servant leader. She is also an ordained minister of the gospel with Open Bible Faith Fellowship of Canada, now the Ministers Network of Canada, and is the Sarah behind Sarah's Daughters of Faith, passionately walking with women, building their faith and encouraging them in their purpose in life and ministry. So welcome again. Thank you, Pastor Cheryl, for joining me and for joining us. And I'm really excited again. This is actually my second Titus edition. Previous to that, I had Pastor Marva, and then tonight you're gracing us with your presence for this second. So first, let's just talk about what exactly, when I'm talking about the Titus edition, what is the verse and what does the verse mean, so that everybody's up to speed?
Okay, I think you're referring to Titus chapter 2.
Yes.
That's right. And verses 3 to 5, and the New Living Translation edition. Similarly, teach the older women to live in a way that honors God. They must not slander others to be heavy drinkers. Instead, they should teach others what is good. These older women must train the younger women to love their husbands and their children, to live wisely and to be pure, to work in their homes, to do good and to be submissive to their husbands, and they will not bring shame on the word of God. And it goes on. And just a backdrop in that, for Titus, Titus was the spiritual son of Paul. We know that. And he was literally just sent to the Cretians, which is Crete, to put a church in order, sort of. Things were kind of falling out, you know. So in the church, your family is men, women, children. And if you read the entire chapter, you'll find what it's all about. But for me, this passage, in a nutshell, just really, the emphasis is on the older women teaching the younger women. He keeps saying that. Teach. So there's an aspect of learning. And if you're going to teach something, you must have had experienced it. So that is one of the things that I really want to emphasize. There has to be an aspect where you have walked.
Yes.
It's become a part of your lifestyle, and now you're teaching. And he was kind of specific in teaching them what is good. Because, excuse me, there's good, there's evil. That's so right. you want to teach the younger women what it is to be good. It speaks about husbands. Now, not all women are going to have husbands, but those that have husbands, and the older women, if you have walked through a marriage, then you should have something to offer.
Right.
You know, and sometimes in our what should I put it? In our culture where we are right now, what we are experiencing, because I like to bring things home to where I am. You're going to have younger women who may not be married, but they've got kids.
Yes.
And the older women need to be able to come alongside them and walk them through the situations and the circumstances they're walking through. So in a nutshell, that is basically what it's saying. I could go through and, break it all down, but there's much more to it. So there's an attitude that needs to be taught, and there's also skill that needs to be taught. Because if you look at I think it is verse, to live wisely and be pure, and to work in their homes, to do good, and to be submissive. Now, submission is not to your husband, is not necessarily being a doormat.
Doormat, I was going to say that.
That's right. Submission speaks to a willingness to serve. So if you've come into a relationship and you've got a husband, then you need to have a voice.
Yes.
And be willing to choose to walk with who you've aligned yourself with. So that is very important. Working in the home. So again, there needs to be some skill. So working in the home could be the skill of how to do housework, how to set a home up, and also working right now in where we are, working from home.
Right.
Moms have the children and they're working from home, right?
That's right.
And I kind of experience that. So yeah, in a nutshell.
And that's basically the whole reasoning for me doing this now once a month is in order to get the wisdom from the women that have walked through what some of us are walking through or might walk through. And so that we can learn from that, right?
Okay,
and be better off. And that's really what it's about. So thank you for that. So this is a really, unique period for a lot of people. And we have the situation where, kids are either being homeschooled now. Some people are doing it for the first time, or they're doing the online schooling. So you're someone, you have 3 adult children now.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things, if you were to give, say, 3 tips, for mothers with school age children and just managing, everything, what would you say to them?
Okay. Well, I homeschooled for about 18 to 20 years. So I was at home. Also, I was also co-founder for a ministry. So around that time I was homeschooling, was also setting up the ministry. So being at home, it's home. Yes. It is home. That's a tip. So it has to be a place where it is safe. The tip is being safe.
Okay.
What does being safe mean? They need to be able to have a comfortable conversation with mom and dad, or mom or dad alone, because they're different. That's happening. Yeah. So it needs to be a safe environment. It needs to be a teaching environment. So everything really in balancing you can use to teach. It doesn't need to be just the academics.
Right.
Life happens all the time. And whatever is happening, you can use it as a method of passing your values. So that is it. Whatever you're doing at home, let it be something that's meaningful, safe environment, and also be teaching so you can learn from anything and every situation. And the third thing is give yourself some slack.
Right.
That's it. Don't be too hard on yourself.
Oh yeah.
There are days when you are going to get up and it's like, oh, I've got this to do. But then you may not feel that you can cover all of this. Give yourself some slack. Possibly you can just prioritize and what's important, what needs to happen, or something may be happening with the children. And so it shifts your whole day.
Yeah.
Don't be rough and hard on yourself. Just give yourself some slack. Really? 3 points. It worked for me.
Yeah. And so how would you decide when you do something versus something else? So to prioritize either your day or how you're doing things. So how do you decide how to do that?
Okay. You want me to go back or where I'm at right now?
Well, with where you're at right now and what you've learned that we could utilize now.
Okay. to prioritize. Okay, I'm going to go back to
Okay.
share. Okay, I had 3 children, and they were very active. There are days when, because we were homeschooling, and also my husband was in full-time ministry during that time, so all the time he didn't go out to the office. There are days when he was in.
Okay.
And so on those days, you got up, they had their work all set out. But my son, he preferred to do his work in bed. He preferred to just lie down and do his work in bed.
Right.
But his dad wanted him to do his work structured, sit at the table, do what needs to happen. Right. And I remember a day in question when that became a stickler, because he was home and he was really insisting that he needs to get to the table.
Right.
That was not a priority. What needed to happen was for him to get his work done. Right. And so it was, hey, hon, we've got to cut a slack here. I need him to get the work done. Right. You're not always here. This is what I allowed to do. So that was priority for the day. I need to get the work done. So that's a simple one, but
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so when it came to, so you chose to homeschool your children, and people are doing various things now. Mm-hmm. What did you think about, so for their spiritual development, how did you include that? Did you do it separately? What did you do with that?
Well, the core of our homeschooling was, why we started homeschool, was to pass on our spiritual values, our values, to our children. And so everything was incorporated in it. We started with reading the Bible, devotions, and they did a Christian curriculum. So almost everything was in their curriculum. So it was all a part of it. Yeah, it was already there. And so it was an active part of our life.
Awesome. So there's a wonderful ministry I've gotten to be a part of, which I've really appreciated, that Daughters of Sarah. So can you tell the folks a little bit about, because the topics you come up with are just fantastic and really make me stop and think, what am I doing here? So can we talk a little bit about why you started that and what your hopes are to get out of that?
Okay, that started way back when I got married, in my very first year of marriage. My spiritual walk with the Lord is very intimate and relational. And so I'm like, okay, Daddy, I'm now married. This is all a whole new thing. Abram and Sarah has become very important and pivotal in quite a number of the decisions that my husband and I make. Like, we look back at their lives, they walk by faith. Our ministry is Faith Five Fellowship of Ministries. So the Lord said to me within the first year that I needed to, in one of my devotions, I needed to study Sarah. And I'm like, okay, all right. There's not much about Sarah. Sarah is just, Abram's wife. And so I went through a bit, initially reluctantly. I'm like, why am I studying Sarah? But having to learn, and actually the walk of faith, what Sarah walked through. So it's like he was taking me into her life. So I did a bit of study. I did a word study, looked for Sarah in the Bible, every verse that had anything to do with Sarah. I went through all of that. And out of that, after that whole study, I said, wow. And so I did a booklet. I actually have a booklet of 6 chapters, a booklet. And it was Daughters of Sarah. And then about 3 years into looking, I went online and I saw Daughters of Sarah. And I'm like, oh, there's a group out there that has this name. And so I went back to the Lord. I'm like, Lord, what am I to do about this? And I just turned it around and called it Sarah's Daughters. Women walking by faith no matter what. And so when we become daughters of faith, when we become Christians, we are daughters of faith. And so we will encounter different things. But when we, as not Jewish, but Gentiles, become Christians, we're walking by faith. And so we're an example who Sarah was, what she walked through. Sarah had some real challenges that we have every day. You don't have to be married, but guess what? As a daughter of Sarah, you're married to the Lord. And so what do I hope to accomplish from this? It's just encouraging women. You can't do it alone. You need to have a sister. Let's walk together. Let's have a safe place. Let's be open. Whatever you're walking through, somebody's going to come alongside you and walk with you. And so that's just the story.
And that's fantastic. So share with us one of your first sort of insights that we can relate to today in this period of time, specifically about Sarah, the study that you did.
Okay. One of the things about Sarah is that she came in, she was in a relationship with her husband. She was on a journey. We need to realize that we are on a journey of faith. So when we become born again, it's not a be all and end all, right? And so we have to embrace our personal journey of faith. Sarah had to embrace her personal journey of faith. We know the different things that happened with Sarah along the way, but what was her take on it? There are moments when your attitude is not going to be right. So what are you going to do? So where we are now, we have to realize, even in this pandemic, we're in a journey. We are on a journey.
Right.
And so we've got to become very personal with the Lord in our faith.
Yes.
Have a relationship with him. And out of that relationship of obedience, one of the things Sarah did with her husband, she called him Lord. Now, please, what is that all about for us?
Right.
You may not have a husband, but you have to recognize God as your father, and he is Lord of every experience you're walking through, no matter what it is. So as a daughter of the King, you have to bring him into your experience.
And so give us an example of bringing him into an experience. So
myself.
Okay.
May not be right now, but it just comes to mind and I'll share it. I remember on my journey, when I came to this country 31 years ago, I came as a registered nurse. And so I worked at Sick Kids for a bit. But then before even coming, the Lord was just kind of saying to me, you're going to be in full-time ministry with your husband. What does full-time look like? I said, well, I can be full-time and still work because that is what I was used to. It took me 3 years to make that decision personally. And so it was speaking to my husband, how do you, because now, hey, honey, this is what I'm experiencing. These are my fears. This is what I'm, what I'm walking through, and bringing him into the conversation that I was having with the Lord. That's it. So the thing is, as you are walking out what you're walking out, you've got to bring whoever is in relationship with you, maybe children, it may be your boss, but whatever you are receiving personally, you have got to, from the Lord, you've got to bring them in to it so they can know where you are. Because you're also developing something there, right? You're not doing things all on your own. So I had to bring him in. It took me 3 years to make that decision, but I did. And so it was quite a journey, but it did materialize. It changed everything. It changed. Everything. And so I'm still on that journey and just bringing him into personally what is happening for me, the Lord, and talking to him about it.
So for and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's so true, is that people are thinking that the best of us, especially when it's such a big change, that it is a process. It is a process to wrap your head around it. So can you think of some of the specific sort of milestones you had in order to get to that decision 3 years later? So what are some key things that you had to either go through, or milestones that you had to have to get to that decision?
Well, the thing was, we came here. My husband was going to go to school, and then when he got here, we decided, just in our relationship and talking, the Lord was saying he registered to go to continue on studies at Bible school, and then the Lord was saying, no, I don't want you to do that. It's going to be a school of the Spirit. So that was another finding out the meaning of that. That was going to impact me. So he now, where it came to doing jobs, I was the one that was bringing in the finances, right?
Right.
Okay. What he was bringing in was not as much.
No.
Because, and so then we started, we, of course, are part of a church, and we were very active. He was a part of the church, in different ways. He would minister and all of that. And so coming to that decision was very pivotal for me. I'm like, Lord, so financially, how are we going to do this? And that's very important,
Yes.
And so what I had to go through was I went from being full-time, and I was also, at the time, I was very active at work. Staff, one of the charge nurses developed a new position. I was very active in that. The next level. So it was management and just working with different committees and stuff. So I had to work that one through. That's why it took so long, because I'm a learner. I read a lot. I study a lot. And so that was going to impact my nursing moving on. But the Lord reminded me that this was just, he showed me how he got me into nursing from Jamaica, how I got into nursing school. And that was a help to say, okay, Lord, if you're saying I have to relinquish this, so bit by bit, so deciding to go from full-time to part-time took me a year, from part-time to casual. And just around the time when I was going to go casual, my daughter, the twin, she was 3 at the time, and my cousin in the States wanted her to be a flower girl. So that became a pivotal decision. Am I going to go? Since I'm a casual nurse, I told my nurse manager at the time that I'm thinking to stop nursing, and she would not have it. She was, no, that's not possible. You can't be thinking that in the position you're in. Anyway, I used that timing, and that was I used that to say, okay, I'm going away for 3 months. I'm taking 3 months off. I won't be on the roster. When I come back, I'll make the decision. So that was another milestone.
That's another one.
That was another one. So that was number 3. And then right after that, the Lord gave me a picture of a van, the color of the van. We had a car at the time, a color of the van. And he was saying the next thing is that we were now moving from going into full-time ministry. And I'm like, Lord, if this is what you're saying, my husband has to receive this, because that's the other thing.
Yes, that's huge. Yeah,
that's huge.
Yes.
And we talked about it. I told him the picture I had of the van. Don't you know, about 2 months after that picture that he showed you, the van drove up in our driveway. And a transaction happened. With the van became ours. We sold them our car, and there, that was another confirmation that yes, he was saying this. Mind you, we had others that we were talking to.
Of course.
So you know, you're not doing this on your own, right? On your own,
and that's what. And so you've said so many nuggets in the last 30 minutes that we've been talking. But I really want to zero in on how are you hearing from the Lord? It's because of your daily devotional time. That's how you hear from the Lord. But it's also people around you, godly people around you that are, also confirming things. Then there's the signs. Like, it's not an abrupt, I mean, it's rarely like, I mean, I know it was Elijah that burned the oxen and but it's not always like that. Right?
No, it's not. That's right.
Right. So it's more progressive. So how you went from full-time to part-time to casual, and all the time you're looking for signs and looking, is this the way that I need to go?
That's correct.
Type of thing. So there's just to give people some sort of peace with, it's okay to do that and to be to want to know, because when you do really know, you'll really know.
You will really know, and you will get confirmation. That is what is key, because you have people in your life, and there are times too when you may not get confirmation from outside, but it's also a part of your call. And it's a part of your call that you're going to have to receive it. And this is the faith part of it.
Okay.
You've got to walk out your script. What is your script? And one of my verses is Ephesians 2 verse 10, which is, I am God's workmanship, and I've been created in Christ Jesus unto good work that he before time ordained that I should walk in. So this is a part of the journey. This is a part of the walk. And so if Daddy told me that this is going to be you're going to be in full-time ministry, there's a script that he has for me. I have to be willing and obedient to make that step and watch the other things fall into place. And that's it. That's very, very important.
Yeah, and that's some great advice, especially in this period of time. A lot of people are in transition or will be in transition.
That's correct.
I do believe the Lord is shifting a lot of things. And I think you've said some key things that you need to be doing, and faith, you're increasing your faith, being women of faith is absolutely critical.
That's right. That's correct.
In this time, even more than ever. So if anybody wants to get some more information about Sarah's daughters, how would they get that information? And I'll also put it on the post as well.
We've got a website, faith, the number 5, CENTRE.com.
Perfect.
And that's the website,
And so you've just gotten folks just a little snippet of Pastor Cheryl and how she works. It's a beautiful group of women, and she really asks those pivotal questions and their discussion. It's a very safe environment. So I do really recommend that if you're looking for that, that you can contact them on their website and inquire about future meetings. So Pastor Cheryl, thank you so much. I know the time goes by so quickly.
That's right. Yes. That's it. And the number, you could just put the number on. It's 905-427-7438. So
perfect. And so you can call, you can email, and you can get in touch, and you can be one of Sarah's daughters. So Thanks again for joining us, everyone, and have a good night. So thank you, Pastor Cheryl.
Okay, thank you for having me. It was great being here. Great having a chat.
It was great. Okay, take care. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.